thievery, discovery, raid, refinement, chilling, and cold-blooded murder. Those are the facts of this case. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the state has come before you today to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant is responsible for the Malice Murder, Felony Murder, and false imprisonment of Zoey Torrance on September 27, 2025. And the evidence brought forward today is absolutely more than enough to fulfill that verdict. First, let's discuss the buy-sell agreement. In simple terms, the buy-sell agreement, if either one of the partners dies, the other one receives a sum of money, in this case, $500,000 to buy out the other partner's share of the business. In this case, if Logan claimed that buy-sell agreement, he would have enough money not only to buy out Zoey's half of the business, but also to replace the funds she stole from Bistro. Zoey dies, he faces not just the Bistro's bankruptcy, but his own personal bankruptcy. Second, Sasha Portugal. Now, the most obvious question when it comes to Sasha is why would she kill Zoey Torrance? Zoey still owed her money, and it's hard to pay a six-figure debt when you're 6 feet under. Above all else, Sasha Portugal is a businessman, and no businessman would willingly give up a source of revenue. The defense has tried to claim that the killing may have been an intimidation tactic meant to coerce Sasha's other clients into paying, but they brought no evidence that Sasha even has any other clients. Third, the bacon. Let's talk about the bacon. As she lay dying in that cooler, Zoey Torrance realized that her former business partner wasn't coming back for her. So in her last moments, she left a message to investigators like Detective Branch. That message, Killer L. Now, for those of you who have any doubts whatsoever, I can assure you that Killer L does not serve and advertise at restaurants. Killer design. Remember, there's only one suspect in this courtroom whose name begins with the letter L. The defendant. Fourth, the cell phone. Logan knew that when she was planning to trap Zoey inside of the cooler, she had to make sure that she couldn't call for help. So she forced Zoey to put her cell phone in a place that made the most sense. Zoey's very own desk. But she didn't realize that she was the only one who could have known where Zoey's desk was. Sasha Portugal certainly couldn't have. Lastly, let's go over the timeline of events. Zoey Torrance, a gambling addict, takes out huge loans from Sasha Portugal. In order to repay these loans, she takes money from the Bistro to about $280,000. Eventually, Logan becomes suspicious. He hires a forensic investigator named Joe Walker on August 26th to investigate his business. A couple weeks later, Walker reports back. Zoey's been stealing from the Bistro. Logan was angry. He wouldn't be. But as the defense has already established, he's angry but controlled. He remembered those $500,000 in the buy-sell agreement he signed at the beginning of the business. That money could be the difference between bankruptcy and saving his reputation, his business, and his dream. So, on the night of September 27th, he pulls out one of his many kitchen knives, and he steps towards Zoey, step by step. And with each step, he forces her backwards into the restaurant's giant lock-in cooler. And once she's finally inside, he latches the door, clicks the lock, and he leaves for the night like nothing's ever happened. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the defendant had the motive and the opportunity to kill Zoey Torrance. And he demonstrated intent twice when he threatened to kill Zoey. Once in front of Joe Walker, and once to her face. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the state doesn't expect you to adore Sasha Portugal. She hasn't always followed the law. In fact, some of her acts have been downright criminal. But the truth of the matter is, there's only one person here responsible for Zoey's death, and that is the defendant. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I ask you for a verdict of guilty today, not just because it follows the facts of this case, but because it's the only decision you can make to ensure that the killer of Zoey Torrance faces justice. Thank you.
Yes, Your Honor. They say even a blind squirrel finds an acorn once in a while. But sometimes it's not an acorn. Sometimes it's just a puppy. The prosecution has been desperately searching for answers about what happened to Zoey Torrance. But instead of finding the truth, instead of uncovering the real acorn, they decided to blame my client, Logan Hayes. But Logan Hayes isn't